Well, everyone, I wanted to go ahead and do a comparison between the iPhone 16e and the iPhone XS and see which particular phone is the better one for you. Now, I think every single person out there would probably see and notice that a phone like an iPhone 16e is probably the one that's going to be the better one here for the most part. That device is going to be giving you better capability, better just functionality for the most part, and I do think that's kind of one of the more important things to keep in mind here. But with that being said, I still think a phone like an iPhone XS is okay, but definitely the 16e is far better. If you want to pick up any of the new iPhones that I would recommend buying this year though, links will be down in the description below. You can get them from there and you can help support the channel at the exact same time. Now, starting off with the outside of both these phones, the iPhone XS, which came out back in 2018 on the front side of this phone, is giving you a 5.8-inch Super Retina, HD display. Now with this type of screen and with this type of panel, it's a pretty basic type of panel when it comes down to it. Back in 2018, this was a pretty good sized, look. It looked pretty good. You had the notch up top. It's a 60 Hz panel though, so nothing super crazy going on here. And it's more or less the same type of phone that you'd kind of expect, right? So I definitely would say if you're going to go through and buy a phone, this is one of those types of devices that I think still holds up very, very well. And I do think this is in and of itself another very important thing to kind of keep in mind here. With the iPhone 16e, this phone is giving you a 6.1-inch Super Retina XDR OLED display. So this type of phone and this type of panel for the most part is definitely going to be giving you a little bit of a better experience, I would say, as you could probably imagine. For one, is a bigger size screen, which is really nice, right? Having a bigger size display is always a better thing in my opinion. It's a better display, it's brighter, but it's still 60 Hz and it's still giving you a notch. So yes, there's less bezel on it, and yes, it's a better looking display, but it still kind of is hurting in the same areas that the XS kind of feels like, right? Like you're still getting a notch and you're still getting a 60 Hz display. Those are kind of some more outdated type of things to have inside of a phone nowadays. And I would probably tell you from that side too, that is kind of one of the biggest takeaways when I'm getting a device. That is kind of one of the more interesting things to kind of keep in mind here when you're getting something like an iPhone 16e. So from that side too, I think that kind of covers it up there as well. You're getting a lightning port on the bottom of the XS. The 16e is giving you a USB Type-C port. On the sides, the 16e is giving you flat sides. The XS is giving you curved sides. On the back side, you're getting a standard glass back on the iPhone XS, where the iPhone 16e is giving you this frosted glass back. And that is in and of itself another really nice thing to basically have inside of that type of device too. Like you can basically go through and get that type of capability. And I do think this in and of itself, it is a very nice thing to basically be able to have. Like, be able to have like these two phones with that feels still so premium. Both have wireless charging and everything like that. The 16e though is giving you this, single camera setup though, where the XS is giving you a dual camera setup. Now, you might immediately assume the XS is better, but we'll talk about how these cameras are more similar than not in a second. But definitely when I take a look at the outside, I think the iPhone 16e is one of those phones that still looks pretty good, right? Like I don't really have too many things to complain about here with the 16e or for the XS. The XS is an older phone, so it makes sense the way it looks, right? Like it's an older phone, so it makes 100,000,000% sense of why that phone looks the way it does. But with that being said, as always, I definitely would still tell you that a phone like the iPhone 16e is a far better, way better looking one, way better performing one when it comes down to it as well. Now, on top of that, when it comes down to their price tags, the iPhone XS you can probably buy for like less than like $100, maybe like around $150 maybe, give or take. The iPhone 16e on the other hand is going to be costing you $599 brand new. So that right there is also going to be another very big takeaway as well. Like if you're going to go through and pick something up, that is definitely going to be one of the bigger issues you might experience here is definitely with something like the iPhone 16e. It's going to be more expensive than the iPhone XS, but might make more sense to buy that phone when it comes down to it as well. When it comes down to the cameras, the iPhone 16e is giving you a single camera setup. Same thing, but the XS is giving you a dual camera setup. Now, here's the thing. With the iPhone 16e, you're basically getting portrait mode on both, but you're getting 4K at 60 on the front and the back of the iPhone 16e. The iPhone XS is only giving you 4K at 60 on the back and 1080p at 60 on the front. You're also getting visual intelligence inside of something like the iPhone 16e because that one does support Apple Intelligence. The iPhone XS does not support that. But the more interesting thing is that when you take a look at both these phones, the iPhone XS actually technically and the iPhone 16e both have the exact same zooming out that you can basically do, or zooming in. So they both can zoom in, zoom out 1x, they both can zoom in 2x. So that right there is a very interesting thing to kind of keep in mind here, because both these phones are kind of already in the same situation. With the iPhone 16e, it can basically zoom in like twice as much, but the iPhone XS can also zoom in twice as much, but the 16e doesn't even have a dedicated telephoto lens. So that right there is a very interesting thing to kind of keep in mind there as well. So even though the XS has twice the amount of cameras, you're pretty much getting similar type of experience when it kind of comes down to it from that side. So definitely from that side in and of itself, that kind of covers it up there as well. Now, on top of that, some other big things to keep in mind here too. When it comes down to both these phones, the XS is still in this situation where it's definitely going to be giving you a little bit of a better experience when it kind of comes down to, I guess, price per dollar because it's such a cheap phone now. But you have to remember that the XS is not really going to be supported with software for like that much longer. And now I'm not too sure 100% how much longer either of these phones are going to last. But one thing is for certain, the iPhone XS has the highest likelihood of being outdated sooner rather than later. The XS is probably going to be giving you like another like year or two of software, barely. It's probably like another year and it's done. Not even like this summer it's going to be done. Whereas on something like the iPhone 16e, this phone is just getting started with software support. So it makes so much more sense to go and buy a phone like an iPhone 16e rather than an iPhone XS, because the 16e is going to be giving you like 7 more years of software updates. That right there is going to be a very big takeaway and a very big thing to keep in mind there. So I do think from that side in and of itself, that is another massive advantage for buying something like an iPhone 16e when it kind of comes down to it from that side, especially when it comes down to battery life. The XS was rated to give you 14 hours of video playback. The iPhone 16e was giving you 26 hours of video playback. So like an additional 12 hours of battery life on video playback just from that side. But you also have to remember, if you're going to go through and pick up one of these other phones, definitely something like an iPhone 16e is still going to be the faster, better performing battery life, and it's just going to be a faster phone overall. And you're getting things like emergency SOS via satellite, crash detection, satellite mode via messages via satellite. Like, that's another crazy cool feature set you're getting inside of the iPhone 16e as well. Now, on top of that, another very big thing to keep in mind here too is that the iPhone XS is going to be giving you this Apple A12 Bionic chip inside of it with 4 gigabytes of RAM. Totally forgot about that. Whereas on the iPhone 16e, you're basically getting a phone that's going to be giving you the Apple A18 chipset inside of it with 8 gigs of RAM. So twice the amount of RAM here, way better performance here as well. So this is in and of itself another very, very big takeaway here. Like if you're going to go through and pick up either one of these phones, you're definitely going to be getting a very solid experience here when it comes down to it from that side as well. Now I'll tell you that is a very important thing to keep in mind here. Being able to go through and buy some of these phones like the 16e that's going to be giving you way better performance, that is in and of itself a very, very important takeaway. So go through, kind of look at these types of phones from that side. And when you kind of do that, you kind of end up seeing that definitely in almost every single way you can imagine, a phone like the iPhone XS just really is not going to be as great of a phone compared to the iPhone XS. The 16e is going to be a better phone. What am I saying? The 16e is significantly better than the iPhone XS. The XS is not even really a good value per dollar anymore, in my personal opinion. I think there's significantly better phones you can buy. And when I look at these two, right, like the 16e is the one I would highly recommend people to buy. But even at that point, for $600, I think there's better phones to go out and buy. Like I think an iPhone, to be honest, I think an iPhone 15 Pro might be a better one for some people to buy too. I think that's a way better phone than the 16e, and it's about the same price, if not cheaper. So that would be another one I'd recommend people to buy. But for the most part, that's kind of how I see both these phones kind of comparing against each other. If you have any other thoughts or questions, let me know in the comment section below. Hit the like button, that would mean so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. More importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.